It's that time of the day. It's the 4th Street Sports Show. Let's get it.
And welcome back to the 4th Street Sports Show. I am not Austin Lindsay, and I am not Jackson Howell. I am Diva Mixon, joined here alongside me, Nathan Lee. It is just us two in the building today.
Yes.
We have still a full house in here. Actually, we have a lot of people listening in. We have our great interviewee, Hunter Smith, on, who's the president of the Golden Eagles swim team. We'll have him on later. And then we have a few new recruits who's watching in, and then John Benet is to my left, and she's here. I don't know what she's really doing. But anyways, we're all here. Charlie had stuff to do. He had to actually go shoot a track and field meet. Austin's just busy, as he always is. Busy Austin, Nathan, you know that. I mean, he's just a busy guy.
Classic Austin.
And then, but we do want to just stop real quick and just say our prayers go out to Jackson. He had a family emergency that he had to attend to this evening. So just our thoughts and prayers go out to him. So I hope that everything is going off there today. So you're stuck with me and Nathan today. Nathan, this beautiful Monday afternoon.
Yes.
Here live from College Hall. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, brother.
Good.
I'm doing good. How about you, man?
You know what? Can't complain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into our Eagle Eye, and then we'll hit into some other things. But let's start with the Eagle Eye. So we'll start with baseball. Southern Miss picked up the series win against Troy with a strong 12-3 finish on Sunday. Billy Oldham, he threw 4 scoreless innings in relief, and Southern Miss took away with a 7 spot in the 9th inning to kind of take control there in that Sunday match. Nathan, they fell behind 3-0 early, and as a kind of something that was pretty consistent throughout the weekend, Slade Wilkes 3-run moonshot over the right field wall to kind of take the lead there in the 5th, and then a 7 spot, which I think is the most runs they've had in an inning besides New Orleans, because it really looked like they actually the first pitch Nico Mazza threw was a home run for Troy, and it looked like all the rails were going to go off. But Billy Oldham, Scott Berry had talked about that they're going to try to move him to the weekend, and he came in and threw 4 scoreless innings, and Southern Miss took that game. Tanner Hall looked in his All-American form as he hadn't looked that way towards the beginning of the season, before the beginning of the season, and he threw a complete game on Friday to help Southern Miss start the series with a win. Slade Wilkes, again, a 3-run homer to take control there in the 8th inning. Southern Miss nearly got a sweep. But Troy kind of hung around there on that game on Saturday and kind of took control of it there to send it to extra innings. Walk-off home run on Saturday to take it in the 10th. Just 3 hits for the Eagles that game, and I think 14 strikeouts. So that was pretty concerning. But they did get the series win. You knew that sweeping is hard in the Sun Belt right now with a lot of talented baseball teams. But I mean, away series wins are important.
They are. I mean, at this point where Southern Miss is at, too, people can throw around the word, not what they expected, those kinds of words. And these are the wins that kind of get you back on track and get the fans, that motivation in the fans and stuff. So to see this weekend, it was definitely a good sign for Southern Miss fans, I imagine.
Yeah, and you have to remember that Southern Miss's schedule this year ranked 26th in the country for strength. So this is not a schedule that, that you're seeing last year where they were just 15-game win streak. They're not going to be able to do that this season, especially now with the bullpen. But this week, they get a favorable matchup tomorrow night against Southeastern Louisiana. First pitch is at 6 p.m. They just announced Will Armistead will be on the bump for Southern Miss in that game. And then they head to a very, very tough road series at Old Dominion. Old Dominion almost came to Hattiesburg last year and swept them. Southern Miss had to walk off Old Dominion to avoid being swept last season. This year, Old Dominion 22-6, 34 RPI, 7-2 in the Sun Belt, number 1 in the Sun Belt, right under Coastal Carolina. Or right, I think they're tied with Coastal. I don't really know, but right up there in the mix. So really tough series this weekend. But like you said, Southern Miss baseball, they're 40th RPI right now. So I think that's kind of, you're fine with that. That's where you kind of want to be, especially when you have 2 losses in quadrant 3 right now with that Valparaiso loss and that New Orleans loss.
Yeah, New Orleans loss.
So let's turn to your favorite sport, Nathan, softball.
Yes, sir. Yeah, let's get to softball. They had a very good start to the season early on, but sadly, they have just been plagued by inconsistent play, now losing 11 straight games, after being swept by Troy. Troy is a very impressive team this year, though, so it was going to be a stretch to even get one game by them this weekend. The Trojans actually outscored the Golden Eagles 19-4 over the entire series, and they are now 26-9. So just like I just said, they are cooking right now, and they don't seem like they're going to be stopping anytime soon. Southern Miss is at the bottom of the Sun Belt with an 0-9 conference record, so you still have not seen them get that win column for the Sun Belt. You know, this is a new conference, so they definitely are I know they're just wanting that one bad. But they look to get that get back into the win column with a home game against Nicholls State on Tuesday night, and then they'll try to get that first conference win, like I just said, against Texas State, who just swept App State this weekend. Let's move on to track and field as well. They had a invitational this weekend here in Hattiesburg. The Southern Miss track and field picked up 12 victories at the Southern Miss Invitational hosted in town. Like I just said, the women's team swept the 400-meter dash with Trinity Benson taking first, Sevilla Varnell coming in second, and Trinity Flagler coming in earning third place. Now Southern Miss travels to Baton Rouge to compete in the Joe May Invitational this Saturday.
Yeah, the other sports in action, Southern Miss beach volleyball, which has become kind of like a fun sport, kind of in class today. A lot of people talking about beach volleyball. They set a program record for most wins in the season after winning 4 of their 6 games at the Beachburg Invitational this weekend. They're now 15-13 on the season and will travel to the 2023 Unconquered Invitational in Tallahassee. 4 matches against top 25 programs await the beach volleyball team with Florida State, FAU, Loyola, Marymount, and LSU. So pretty tough schedule there at the Unconquered Invitational. Yeah. You know, that sounds like a name that somebody just kind of came up with to name something cool.
Yeah,
it's like WWE
make
style.
It way cooler than it actually is.
Okay. Shading to volleyball. Men's golf also started the Bossy Oak Collegiate Monday, and women's golf started the Warhack Invitational in Monroe, Louisiana. That is our Eagle Eye. We'll be right back on 4th Street to talk about a little spring football action, what I saw at the spring game on Saturday, and then we'll get into our interview with the Golden Eagles swim team president, Hunter Smith. Thanks so much for tuning into this 4th Street. We'll be right back. back here at College Hall. Nathan Lee joined with me here at College Hall. It's just me and Nathan today. Nathan, football in the spring. You know, I always think it's just kind of strange. You know, I don't know why. You know, I was out there at the spring game this week. We'll get into it. And, you know, just spring football is just weird.
It is
like,
a weird
you know, because
vibe.
I'm like, okay, so the spring game's at 12, so there was baseball plays in 3 hours.
Oh.
Like, it's just, like, doesn't have the same ring to it. Like, when I think football, I think of, remember Prince Pickham?
Oh,
Yeah.
God, those are the
Remember how he
days.
lost in Prince Pickham?
I don't want to
Nathan,
hear that.
who won Prince Pickham?
I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, okay.
I don't want to hear that.
Well, let's talk about the spring game. Southern Miss.
Mr. Flexer over here. Jeez.
Third spring game under Coach Will Hall. It really wasn't that long. It was about an hour and a half long. So Will Hall told us that he was going to have the first team come out against the first team. I had my little notepad here, and I was trying to write down all the numbers I saw. So what I saw, I guess the numbers you're really interested in about, Billy Wiles came out for that offensive first team. For the quarterback, he was obviously joined by Frank Gore Jr. as the running back. And then you had Latrell Jones back from injury at that wide receiver. And then number one, Ja'Carius Caston, he did change his number as that number 2 receiver, and then Chandler Pittman was actually lined up there in the slot, which I think that's a great spot for him. You know, a guy who was injured last year, wasn't able to see a lot of playing time, but he comes into the slot maybe this season. And, you know, you heard me on the podcast last fall, I said, they got to put Ja'Carius in the slot. Like, he's just, if they can just find something, just get him the ball, you know. And I think Ty Mims is another good example of somebody in the slot. So I hope that they start kind of rotating in and out Chandler Pittman and a Ty Mims. But they ran about, 80 to 100 plays. One thing that stuck out, Jalen Sims, the linebacker, the transfer, I don't think he's a transfer, actually. He's just the linebacker. You're going to hear his name a lot. The reason you're going to hear his name a lot is because he got 3 sacks in the first 4 plays.
Wow.
So he sacked Billy Wiles. Then the next play, he sacked Billy Wiles. Then they ran the ball, and then the next play, he sacked Billy Wiles. So three sacks in the first few plays. And, this season, this offensive line, there's going to be a lot on them. But, Nathan, they're supposed to be the more veteran offensive line now that they're third year.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say is, you can look at that in 2 ways where, okay, maybe we got a guy here on defense, or the offensive line is maybe taking that step back, which they need. That's the last thing this team needs is that, like you just said, this is supposed to be that veteran group of offensive linemen. So if that's something that was a concern at practice, I can't say I was there to watch it and stuff. You have way more information and stuff, but out of the things I've heard from you talking to me off air, that was one of the things that you noticed big time. So if that veteran group is struggling, there's definitely room for concern.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about third-year Frank Gore Jr. in the backfield, and everybody saw what he did in the bowl game against Rice, and
domination.
If you're going to have a Frank Gore Jr. back there, and you have that offensive line who's going to be a veteran offensive line, you really hope that you can have a quarterback that can just kind of do something. You don't need Nick Mullins. You'd like to have that. You don't need a Jack Abraham or whatever. You just need somebody who can run the offense. And Saturday, I have to be honest, I didn't really see anybody who kind of flashed to me. Will Hall said after this practice in the post-game interviews when we got him, he talked about that. He said, quote, I thought it was a really good day for the defense. The defense started, quote, the defense started hot and the offense finished strong. And for me, like, I don't know how much I want that, for you want your offense to at least get some work in the spring game.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't like,
especially the ones.
Right, exactly. And so you got a good look at Quez McNeil. McNeil had a pick 6 on Zach Wilkie. Anchorman, Mississippi guy, Will Hall loves that. But you also got a good taste of Drake Clark, that Memphis transfer coming into the running back room. It's a nice piece right in there in the running back room. Will Hall said he's had a phenomenal spring. He's actually talked about him being one of the best players in the spring for Southern Miss football. When you add him, Kenyon Clay, obviously, and then in the mix with Frank Gore,
it's a heck of a group.
He's hoping that they have a real, he said, quote, we got a bona fide Division I running back room. But Nathan, it all has to start in the trenches, and you just really hope this offensive line can start getting some work in. So they have 2 more practices left. They have one They actually had one this morning, and then they'll have another one tomorrow, and then that'll be the end of the spring before they send them all home before they get them back in June. Nathan, what is just kind of what do you think the vision should be over the summer? You know, the transfer portal is going to reopen. Where do you think Southern Miss should do? Do you think that they're fine? Do you think that after this spring, obviously you're not going to want to add any more quarterbacks? You have 6 on the room right now. Just talk about that a little bit.
No, yeah, for a university like Southern Miss, the transfer portal, they're going to use it. It's just a matter of how much. At this point, you know a lot of the great transfers are out of the pool, so how much talent are you going to find out there? I put that on the coaching staff. They're going to find gems. That's what they do. But I think it's just truly this team growing from last year to this year. I mean, they've made steps every single year in this Will Hall era, and it feels like, last year, winning that bowl game, Frank Gore putting up a performance for the ages, that it feels like they're going in the right direction. So as much as people want to, look at certain things, maybe go to that practice and not see what they wanted to see, you can do all that. But at the end of the day, this coaching staff's done stuff. And at the end of the day, you got to put it in their hands. And I think that's a testament from the past couple of years, is that if you just let them do this thing, build this process, let them do it how they want to do it, I think the sky's the limit for Southern Miss football.
Definitely, and we'll have obviously way more to cover once fall camp starts next season on 4th Street. So with that, we'll transition into our interview with Golden Eagles Swim President Hunter Smith right after this song, Swim Good.
for the place to be at Mondays at 5? Look no further than 4th Street Sports.
Back on 4th Street Sports Show, I'm your host, Dima Mixon, joined with Nathan Lee, and we welcome now in the Golden Eagles swim team president, Hunter Smith. Hunter, how are we doing today?
Hey, I'm doing good, Dima.
Great
to be in here.
You know, swimming might not be a big sport. It is a big sport regionally, right? But in many schools, it's not sponsored sport. The Sun Belt Conference does not sponsor swimming, and Southern Miss didn't have a swim team. But some students, right, joined up and formed their own team. So we're glad to have you on the show. So y'all just completed the weekend at the University of Alabama. What was that experience like? Could you just tell us how it went for the team?
Yeah, so this is our second time we competed at University of Alabama. In the fall, there were about 8 to 10 teams there. This time in the spring, it was during the weekend of College Club Swim Nationals. So a lot of the teams were up in Ohio for that meet. So it was about 5 or 6 of us who were competing at Alabama. Overall, the meet went really great. Our swimmers came in first in a couple of races. We got third overall, beating out Mississippi State, so that's always a good thing. But I think it was more than the swim aspect. It was a great bonding thing, especially for some of our newer freshman members. That was mostly who went with the freshmen, and I think by getting them to bond on meets like this, it's going to keep them interested in the club a lot longer.
Yeah, and could you just walk us through, the listeners and even me in general, just how, like, the history of the club, you know, how it was formed, kind of the process behind that, and how you become president, all that stuff?
Sure, yeah. So coming to Southern Miss, I knew I wasn't going to swim in college. I was coming here for the schooling aspect, but I knew I wanted to swim still. But I came in during COVID, and I emailed Bill Poe, which is our faculty advisor, as well as the aquatics director on campus, trying to start up a swim club. But during COVID, they weren't really creating new clubs, so I had to wait a little while. And then in the fall of 2021, I finally got enough interest through a couple of my friends and mostly upperclassmen here who were just interested in swimming again. And we put that together, and honestly, it wasn't too hard to get the 10 members together and write a constitution and get it established. But really, the hardest part was figuring out what you actually needed to do to have a club here on campus. So we started our first semester ever in the spring of 2022. So it's been about a year since we had our club. We started with about 20 or 24 members in the spring, and we had about 6 to 8 that were really into it and really participated. So for springtime, not a bad turnout. We would have liked to seen it, be a little bit more, but we kind of started off having practices 5 days a week every morning, and we all know how hard it is to get up at 5 in the morning to go to practice. So I think that was one of our biggest issues starting in the spring. But this year so far, the team has only grown exponentially. We had 24 members again, but like I said, in the spring we had 24 mostly upperclassmen, so a lot left or they got too busy to continue swimming on the club. And we have a lot of freshmen, so we have had participation rates of about 75% of the members rather than about 30%. We've been able to finally establish how to go to swim meets. That was another big process in itself, was how do we go compete against other clubs. And for those of you who don't know, we have, Alabama, for example, has D1 college swim teams, but they also have club teams. So even though we're not a D1 sport like football or basketball here at Southern Miss, other colleges have college club teams like us, and we're just sponsored under Master Swimming. So those are the teams they're going to compete against, are the swimmers who want to do this for fun, but don't want to be getting up every morning at 5 a.m. and working their butts off. The other couple of things, cool things we do for the club to keep people interested is we play water polo occasionally, builds spirits, and
cool.
Also builds and breaks relationships, But other than that, starting it off, we got our freshman or sport newcomer of the year in spring 2021 or 2022, and we're hoping to get swim club of the year for the University LSI in this spring. So
I'll tell you one thing, I would not be getting up at 5 a.m. to swim. But I'm glad that we have, people who want to do that. And I know that you kind of just mentioned this, but, it's not a sponsored sport from Southern Miss, but what's the demand that you've kind of seen? You're talking about that growth rate, but since you've become president, are you seeing even more and more college students interested in swim, and kind of what's been that, how do you get the word out, all that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a great question, Nima. So I am from Georgia originally, where swimming is much bigger than it is here in Mississippi. So I think that is part of the aspect of having a swim club here at campus. It's not that we don't have people come that have swim. There are great swim clubs here in Mississippi, like Hub Fins, our local swim team in Hattiesburg. But just that in itself makes it a hard thing. And the other thing with being a swim club is, as much as I would love to teach people how to swim, I don't have the time to teach people how to swim. So while we do let everybody come onto the team, it's a very niche thing where you kind of have to already be somewhat a swimmer. So that's part of that. The other thing is, when we do our tabling events, there's tons of people that ask, like, oh, I'd love to be on the team, but I just don't know how to swim. Like, if I were to get in a pool, I would drown. And it's very disheartening to hear from our students on campus. It's like, you mean to tell me you don't go to the pain center and just hop in the pool and have fun because, you're afraid? So that's one thing we'd really like to work on, is raising awareness around that, and potentially building a program for our college students here to at least learn survival swim rates. And then I think the big part of getting people interested in our club is getting the freshmen right when they come in. So a lot of people, when they come, they've done high school swim. Maybe they did club swim for years and years, but when they come in, they still have that passion. They want to make friends. So when they're a freshman is the best time to get them, and I think that's why our participation rates have skyrocketed in the spring, since we have all these new freshmen on the team, and they're the ones that seem like they really want to be interested. They want to carry this team on. So I think getting freshmen in, that goes for any club, I think, is the biggest thing.
Yeah, and it was important for you all to start the club, obviously. And what was that? What's the process? I know that a lot of teams, they have staff, they have people dedicated to marketing and financing, they have, all of these things that kind of, you have communications directors, all these things that go into like a sports team. But since y'all are a student club, right? How do y'all kind of maintain the team? How do you? What is that experience like? Were you taught that, or are you just kind of learning on the fly, or?
Yeah, I was kind of learning on the fly for a lot of it. I mean, I'm lucky enough that our advisor is in it to win it with us, and anything we need, he'll get us. But funding is a big thing. We have to pay, depending on how many swimmers we have, in order just to go to meets. We have to pay like $250 to $500 a year, which, if you have a team of 25, not bad, but when you're starting off with 10, everybody's got to pay $25 there. And then the rest of the fees in order to go to meets. At the end of the day, to be on a club, it's about $100 for dues, which for clubs on campus, that's a lot. Usually it's $15, maybe $25 for the year, so that's a hard part. And then going to meets, being that we're here in Mississippi and Ole Miss just started their swim club the same time that we did. Mississippi State has had theirs established for a while, but they don't host meets either, and that's because the software to host meets is $500 to $1,000 just to be able to do it. So we have to travel to go to our meets. We have to go to Alabama or Auburn, and they only hold them occasionally. No, like I said, being from Georgia, we were able to compete at UGA because we stayed at my house, made it cheaper. But if we want to go to Florida, which is where a majority of the meets are held in the South, we got to pay $200 per person to go to meets. And so we've been working on raising money. We found a company called E-Team Sponsor, and it was super easy. We just put in all of our friends and family emails, and we ended up raising $4,000 to help pay for meet costs and get the meet program software. So that was a really big thing that we hammered home this spring semester, was raising money. So a lot of it has just been by ourselves. LSI is a great resource, and the Pain Center is doing as much as they can. And the other issue with college clubs here that are sports teams is they have to go by LSI, and they also have to go by the Pain Center. So we can't just follow LSI rules. There's different rules for sports clubs. So we have to make sure we're being good with both.
Yeah, and more about like specifically the actual swimming. Like, what's kind of the way? Like, do you practice? Like, what's the practice routine? You know, what does that consist of? Or do you just kind of, you know, I know you said that people have to kind of know how to swim. So, kind of like, how do your meets go? Is kind of the question.
Yeah, a majority of our members range from a couple of years of experience to 10 plus years of swim experience. So practices are tailored to be able to fit that need. Usually they're written for somewhere in between about a 5-year experienced swimmer. And then we just, at practice, the people that maybe need to take a break here and there and can't do the whole thing continuously will stop and take a break. And that way they're hitting that skill level. Also, being a swim coach here in the Hattiesburg community, I'm able to help work on technique for those who ask me for it at practice. So I'd like to be able to train one of our new members to be able to do that. But in terms of meets, I would say our members who have been going are pretty on par with the swimmers who are there. The hard part with being a school like Southern Miss, it's great because it's small, but it's bad because it's small. You know, if you go to Alabama, people may be just going to Alabama because they love Alabama and they're a D1 swimmer that just didn't want to swim in college, but they're swimming on the swim club. So somebody who was maybe a D3 swimmer who just didn't go to college and wants to be on swim club is now racing D1 swimmers. So it makes it hard to compete against people like that. But I think we hold our own, especially when we get more freshmen and they're fresher out of it. But coming in as a sophomore and I'm 3 years out of shape, it makes it difficult to be racing. So I think that's one of the good things.
Yeah, and as president, you know, what are ways you're kind of looking to improve the club? What are some goals for the future?
Yeah, so we are currently transitioning our officer board. We've had the same 4 officers for the past year now, and I think it's been going great. We had 2 of our officers getting ready to leave as a senior, and myself, and the other officer are just getting to be juniors and seniors, so we're really busy. So we're transitioning now to an all-freshman board of officers, but they'll be sophomores in the fall. And I think that is what's going to create the longevity, is because they're still interested in it and have the time to put into it to develop it. Ideally, what I'd like to see them do is gain more traction with the freshmen. We're going to be meeting with LSI to put a plan into place for advertising in the fall. And I think that is what is going to help us grow the team, because the more people that we have that are interested and come to practice, the more likely they are to build friendships and continue just to be on the team. In terms of development, we have the money now to buy the meet software. We can host our own meets, so that's one goal I know that we'd like to have in coming up next year, is host our own meet, whether that be versus Ole Miss and Mississippi State, kind of have a Magnolia State battle. I think that's what we've been talking about with those club officers. But just make sure that it's going to stay a swim club here on campus well after I'm gone. I think that's the biggest goal that I have right now.
You'll have an upcoming profit share on April 24th. Could you just talk about that and what donations mean to the team?
Yeah, so come see us at Glory Bound April 24th. All that money gets put towards meet fees to make traveling easy, travel costs easier, as well as buy equipment for when we do drills and stuff at practice. So all that money is really what allows us to become better swimmers and kind of hold our own whenever we go compete at other places.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We enjoyed the talk, Hunter, and we'll definitely keep you in the loop with, keep our listeners in the loop with the swim club, and I think it's awesome. I mean, I think it's really cool. Nathan, you got anything to add?
I don't have my mic on, but it's very cool.
Hunter, thanks for coming on the show. We're going to go to break, and we'll come back on the other side of this break. We'll have our flowers and some new voices coming along. So be tuned for that. Thank you, Hunter, for joining us.
Thank you, Nima.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the show. We're now giving flowers.
Welcome back to 4th Street Sports Show, joined here in studio by Nathan Lee and our guests here, Jackson Kennedy, welcome to the show, and Tiara Williams, welcome to the show. For those who don't know, these are recruits, I guess, as we would say.
Yes. Yes.
Not officially a part of the 4th Street team, but all we can say is you'll be hearing their voices a lot very soon. I mean, that's all we can say. But Jackson and Tiara, how are we doing?
Doing good. I can't complain. How are you?
Doing good. Jackson?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. Happy to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you on. How about you just tell us a little bit about yourselves? Tiara, you can go first, then Jackson. Just your major, just your favorite sport, and just how excited you are to be a part of 4th Street.
Okay, I am a junior sport management major here at Southern Miss, and my favorite sport is definitely basketball.
Definitely.
Emphasis on women's basketball. Shout out to LSU.
Yeah.
Good dub this weekend, ladies. And I'm looking forward to being a part of the show and being able to talk about any and all sports that are USM.
Yeah, just bouncing off of that, I am a junior psychology major here, and I would say my favorite sport is football, but man, after that February 9th experience inside of Reed Green Coliseum with 8,097 people there, I lost my voice for 2.5 weeks after that. It was like a transformative experience being there, and like that kind of put basketball up there with football, but there's nothing that beats the feeling of watching a walk-off home run. So I would say currently, maybe it's recency bias, but baseball is definitely in my top spot right now.
Hey, this is a big question. Mm-hmm. Is Southern Miss a baseball school?
Oh.
I would say they were, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I would say they were mainly a baseball school, but my little brother's a senior in high school right now, and he's coming to Southern Miss in the fall. And I was just kind of telling him, because like I became a sports fan in fall of 2020. Like I didn't really know anything about it, any sports, and I've just really fully invested into it in my time in college. And I was telling my little brother Nate, I was like, hey, look, you are coming to Southern Miss at a perfect time, you know, because Will Hall is working his magic. I love that man. He is incredible, and everything that he's done with the team and everything that he's continuing to do, it's really building back a lot of that passion and love that I remember as a little kid growing up, and I remember my dad telling me about whenever he was in college. And so football is coming on the rise, and it's a bold claim, but I think in like the next 5 years, we will definitely see a sold out Rock. And so I think football is coming back. We just saw it with basketball. And baseball is good, and it's continuing to be good. Scott Berry is one of the best recruiters in the nation just because people are looking forward to playing for him. So while Southern Miss may have been mainly a baseball school, we now are becoming a basketball school. Football is on the rise. So all three big major athletics, they're on the rise.
Winning heals all. Winning heals all.
Winning heals all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see what happens. I'm still very much that it's a baseball school. It is the only sport that Southern Miss is set up to win a national title in my opinion.
Fair.
So, and that to me is what defines you as a school. But let's get into our flower section to announce our 4th Street Player of the Week. Here's the nominees. Tanner Hall, complete game, 6 innings, 6 hits, allowed 1 run, 6 strikeouts, 113 total pitches. Another baseball player for you, Slade Wilkes, home run in every game against Troy, 2-run homer in Saturday's game, and then 2 3-run shots. Jackson and I were talking before the game, like he just does it in the most clutch moments. Like, it's unbelievable.
So
I don't even know how it's possible. And then we have 2 track and field stars. Javel Fullerton, first place in the 400-meter hurdles, and then Zaisha Frazier, I hope I'm saying that right, first place in the triple jump. Can we get a drum roll? And the winner of the 4th Street Player of the Week goes to none other than Slade Wilkes. You think that anything other than Slade Wilkes would be just a travesty.
Definitely.
You don't have a multiple home run game in 3 games in a row. So, Slade, your flowers are right in front of me, and we would be happy to hand them off to you tomorrow night or whenever you can. So, Also, some other flowers go to the Southern Miss Athletic Advisory Committee for hosting a tornado relief drive for the victims of the deadly tornado attacks that struck Rolling Fork and North Mississippi this week. So shout out to them. That's really amazing. And then shout out to 4th Street for winning a couple of awards there at MAB Day on Thursday, or the awards gala. Nathan's pumping his fists over there. Nathan, you won a few awards, so shout out to you.
Appreciate it.
And then shout out to our host, Austin, who's not able to be here today, but he won some awards as well.
And Charlie and Jackson. It's a
Yeah.
whole team effort for the 4th Street stuff.
Exactly. Everybody got something. So now would be the time of the show that we normally roast the Cowboys. But Austin's not here. So anybody have any roasts before we get out of here?
No, I don't think I got any, sadly. No Big Ten talk or nothing for you over there. So I can't say much about that.
I'll tell you what. And I have one. I just want to say that John Benet's been here the whole time. Nobody knows that. I know we're on the radio. She had the mic in front of her, so she could have gotten on the show.
Oh, yeah.
But she chose not to. So that
Wait,
just
I
tells
do
you
got
personally.
one thing.
Yeah.
Who's winning the championship tonight?
Oh, yeah. Oh, let's do it with y'all. Yeah.
Yes.
San Diego State, UConn. I'll say UConn will beat them by 30-plus points.
Ooh, jeez. I guess
I'm
I'll
not
go
mad at
next. I'm gonna go San Diego State, another
you're
buzzer
just-
beater.
You're
Another
just-
buzzer beater.
You're just mad
Always-
that I said Aaron Rodgers sucks.
No, I've been going for the underdogs all tournament. We're holding strong to that. We're holding strong to that.
Well, I would honestly agree with Nathan. I think, there's just, while UConn has so many benefits in terms of size and talent and the fact that they've been there multiple times before, it just seems like there's something magical about San Diego State. And, it's not going to be surprising if they lose, but I really feel like there's something special about this team. And if you have seasoned veterans, people might take being in a national championship for granted because it's an expected thing to get in the Sweet 16 if you're UConn or something like that. But with San Diego State, this is incredible. This is incredible.
never do it again.
Yeah, never do it again. Just once in a lifetime type thing.
Yeah. So you're saying San Diego State?
I'm saying San Diego State, or at least they cover.
Okay.
Well, I'm going with you, Dima. I'm pulling
Oh,
for UConn. I don't know if it'll be by 30.
I don't know what these fellas over here are talking about.
At least she's logical. It ain't gonna be 30.
I don't think it'll be by 30, but I do think UConn will they'll win by a comfortable 10 to 12 maybe.
All right,
Here's
there
the
you go.
deal. Miami was hot,
They were hot.
Yeah.
and
And they got
UConn made them
destroyed.
look silly.
So bad.
I mean, I'm sorry.
UConn's done that to everybody too.
Yeah,
so
Oh, man. I mean,
not confident in my pick.
John Benet, who do you think? UConn, we can't hear you, but you can motion.
I have not been picking up, or keeping up, but I'm kind of convinced about what you said, so.
Oh, we're going UConn.
UConn
Oh.
3-2.
I'm gonna say, you seem
All right.
logical over there.
All right, that game is at 8:20. It's like a late
Weirdest
tip.
time.
Weird,
time.
strange game. So that game's at 8:20. Enjoy that game. Enjoy your Monday evening. Thanks so much for tuning in to 4th Street. Thank you, Jackson and Tiara, for hopping on with us. You'll be hearing a lot more of them in the coming season, along with John Benet here, when she finally picks up a mic. So, but just thoughts over to Charlie and Austin as they just were out tonight, and then once again, thoughts to Jackson and his family, prayers up to them, and just hope everything's good there. So, Nathan, thanks for joining me today.
Yes, sir.
Jackson and Tiara, thank you so much, John Benet, and we thank you to Hunter coming on the show. But that's it for 4th Street. Slug Wilkes wins Player of the Week. We'll be back on Thursday with our rapid fire right before Old Dominion series for baseball. So we'll have our rapid fire going. So I'm Dio Mixon for Nathan Lee. That was the 4th Street Sports Show.
Come back next Monday at 5 on Southern Miss Radio, 4th Street Sports, baby.